Is this thing on? Oh, it is. Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hokago Talk Time, the Patreon podcast where I sit down with you guys and just talk about some stuff like friends do after school for your audible pleasure. I realize that I'm kind of opening this episode like it's some kind of, ASMR thing, which I have seen from previous attempts at me trying to do different types of ASMR stuff, that it doesn't really fly that well with a lot of you guys. I've found it's like I've done a few like ASMR-esque type of content. Some of them have hit off pretty well. Like, I think one of the first ones I did was I did an entire 11-minute ASMR where I spoke entirely in Japanese while opening an Akibento. So that was quite a while ago. So it was a couple of years ago, I'd say. And that did well. People really enjoy it for some reason when they hear me speaking Japanese in a video, so definitely would like to do more of those in the future. But the latest ASMR video that I didn't really get that much of a positive feedback. It was last year's Halloween video where I asked you guys to give me it was called Real Life Otaku Horror Stories. So I did this thing where I read out your guys' horror stories, from like conventions or just like horror stories from real life otaku life, that you guys live, and I read them out in a spooky, scary way in a dark room, and that video did not do well, which is a shame because I really, really enjoyed making that video quite a bit, and I thought it was really, really funny. But such is life with YouTube. Unfortunately, such is life. Sometimes you'll make content that you'll really, really enjoy, that you think is really, really freaking cool, and it just does not work out for some reason. It's just either, the algorithm just happens to fuck you in the ass that day, or your audience doesn't really share the same kind of sense of humor or, level of anticipation as you would have hoped. But hey, that's life. That's YouTube. That's, I've always felt that creating content on YouTube as a living is, every day is like a gamble. You have to gamble being like, do I spend this time and money and energy to create a certain type of content that possibly my audience may not give a shit about, or possibly YouTube will completely screw me over on. Every day's a gamble. Every day you don't know what is going to work and what is going to work. And I think I'd prefer it that way, because I think that if everybody knew what was going to work and what wasn't going to work, then nobody would become big. There would be no competition. Everybody would just be making the same type of content, and that would be boring as fuck. As if YouTube isn't already a platform where people are just making the same type of content because it works. I've never really been that way. I will obviously, I obviously know when it comes to my audience, what type of content works, what type of content doesn't work, right? But sometimes I just want to be like, fuck that. I don't want to just make content that I know is going to work and, shave away at my integrity as a content creator just because I want something to do well and get me ad revenue. Fuck that. I'm luckily at a fortunate situation where I can literally make anything, really. And people are very, very luckily willing to watch and listen. I think, me doing this podcast right now for you dedicated patrons is proof of that matter, that I'm at a very fortunate place. And, so many people chalk it up to it being about talent, it being about, the fact that you're skilled enough to be able to do this. But I always have said from the very beginning that I'm not talented, I'm not skilled, I'm just lucky. And that was my phone. Let me just turn that off. As you can see, Hokago Talk Time is all about integrity. It's all about integrity. There's no cuts. This is all just one take. Alright, because, you know, that's like another thing when it comes to like integrity, is that like I don't want to, with any type of my content really, I don't want to fake it. I don't want to sit here in front of the camera and give off a positive, you know, the most positive image of myself that I possibly can, because honestly, like, I think doing that is just a complete waste of time. Like, I know so many YouTubers, obviously not naming any names, but I've seen so many content creators here on YouTube who are trying so hard, so hard to give off this image about themselves that is just completely false from who they actually are. And I'm saying that for the negative. I'm not saying that for the positive. Like, this isn't, like, you know, obviously there are some people who will go out of their way to be the bad guy on the internet. You know, be the villain on the internet and say some things that will get people hating them on purpose because they find it entertaining. But when you meet them in real life, they could be some of the nicest people in the world. And it's all just an act, really. But unfortunately, those kind of instances I find are pretty rare. Most of the time, if anything, it's the opposite. It is shitty people in real life trying to hide the fact that they are said shitty people and trying to portray themselves in this way that makes them look like this pure-hearted saint. But it's, you know, a big shock for a lot of people when you meet them in person or you see them off camera and they are completely different. It shatters the immersion. And trust me, having met and, you know, become friends with so many YouTubers over the almost 6 years of my career, it's you see some shit. You see some shit, you hear some shit. And I'm not, you know, this is not me trying to like spill the tea or anything like that. You know, I don't intend to start drama talking about this. This is just, I'm just verbal vomiting right now. This is just verbal diarrhea to open this episode, right? You know, I've personally had experiences of people, or YouTubers should I say, who I thought were amazingly cool people, because all I've ever known about them is how they portray themselves on their YouTube channels and in their YouTube videos, right? Or just, you know, how they portray themselves on the internet. Some of these people look and feel like amazing saints who could possibly never be douchebags in real life. They're probably people who have been loved all their life, right? But it's really shocking, honestly, and sad to see those people and you get to know who they actually are off camera and who they actually are as a real, just private human being. To know that it's like this facade that they've been putting on for years and that nobody knows. This horrible, shitty person of a facade that they try to use to, you know, cover on their videos. And it's ridiculous. And, you know, it is a shame. Honestly, like, I have no sympathy for any of those kinds of people, in all honesty. But it is a shame at the end of the day, because it's a shame that, you know, obviously their fan base doesn't realize that they're actually shitty people. And it's also a shame that that shitty person doesn't realize they're a shitty person. You know, I think that's the worst type of shitty person. It's a shitty person who doesn't realize that they're a shitty person. And it's usually people like that who are quick to blame other people. But, you know, I've found that that kind of stuff doesn't really last, especially on YouTube. You know, word gets around very quickly in a private matter between YouTubers, especially if you're a bigger YouTuber. And you know, those rumors are backed up by personal experiences, and people, you know, and people get ostracized from said communities. And I mean, again, I have no sympathy because they're shitty people, but it's also pretty sad because they don't realize it and their fan base doesn't realize it. But, you know, anyway, this is like a really I just realized this is such like a dramatic way to open up the podcast, but let's get back to the podcast. So this is the second episode. For those of you who are new to this, hello. But if you were sticking around for the first episode, or you actually listened to the first episode, first of all, thank you very much. I actually got a lot of feedback from you guys for the first episode. A lot of you were actually saying that the show's great, that the show's chill. But I think one of the biggest, I guess, not really criticism, but I guess more like requests from you guys, because at the end of the first episode, I asked you guys, obviously this is a new thing, and I don't really know how I want to construct it yet, because I don't know what you guys want to listen to. To that question, a lot of you guys were saying, talk about non-anime stuff. Which honestly, I wasn't expecting. I thought you guys wanted, anime content from me. But it was a nice surprise to know that you guys are actually more... You guys, honestly, like, in a good way, don't really give a crap about what I talk about. It doesn't have to be anime related. So, there were so many people were like, Joey, like, just talk about whatever, bro. Like, you don't have to talk about anime stuff all the time. Like, you can talk about anything and we'll be interested. So, which is, very thankful for me, because as much as I do love talking about manga and anime, I can't be talking about it all the freaking time. It's hard enough to make so many videos on so many different anime topics. It's even harder to do extra content for, upwards of an hour to an hour and a half, every week or so on a podcast like this. So yeah, I'll be trying to add more topics that are less anime related, because you guys are okay with that. Yeah. So I guess the first topic that I would like to cover in this episode is, and I'm not going to go over it too, deeply, because it is quite a bit of a controversial topic, should I say, is, the whole Vic Mignogna situation. Yeah, I can already hear some of the gasps of shock and horror, from you guys. Yeah, so if you guys don't know, let me bring you up to speed. Vic Mignogna, who is a dub anime voice actor, longtime dub anime voice actor, has recently been convicted of a number of horrible things that he has done to his fan base, other voice actors, con attendants, and con staff that he has been to. Now, I'm sure if any of you guys listening to this are active on Twitter, then you know that for a very, very long time, I mean, it's died now as of the recording of this video, but for basically all of February 2019, this was talked about almost every single day. There was a whole movement on Twitter of the hashtag I stand with Vic people versus the hashtag kick Vic. This whole movement between two different fan bases, or two different, groups of people, as to whether to, support Vic, or to be against Vic. And in the end, Vic got this. Well, let's just say the kick Vic people were victorious. Not only did Vic Mignogna get cancelled from 80% of the conventions he was planning to go to this year, but he was also fired from not only Funimation, but also from Rooster Teeth. So, yeah, and there are rumors right now, and please don't quote me on this, because I'm not fully invested in this story. I've just seen it on Twitter because there's no fucking escape from it, that apparently he's going to court about it. He's going to sue, a voice actress who framed him, or, I guess, said something about the matter, because, according to Vic, he's saying that all of these allegations are untrue. All of these allegations are false, and they are all just there to basically defame and dethrone him as this very prolific voice actor. Now that all of the... I know that was a lot to unpack if you guys are new to this whole thing. And you may have realized that there have been a number of content creators on YouTube who have made all sorts of different videos about it, whether that be, just laying down the facts or giving their opinions or theorizing what's going to happen, and basically all these people who are just, very invested in this voice actor's life and in the whole drama of voice actors and this whole bullshit drama that was happening. And you may have noticed that I myself have not once mentioned it in a video, not once mentioned it on Twitter, in fact, not once mentioned it publicly other than this podcast. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Because no matter what I say in this matter, the moment I say anything about this matter, I lose. Everybody loses. And when I say that, I mean that it is honestly a fucking waste of time to talk about it if you're not directly involved in it. And it's ridiculous, to be honest with you. The whole situation is ridiculous. Now, there are probably a number of people thinking, Joey, do you stand with Vic, or do you want him kicked? I honestly don't give a shit, to be honest. I'm not for him, I'm not against him, because if anything, I'm just against the whole fact of the matter that this is even a problem to begin with. Now, that is not me saying that I have no sympathy for Vic Mignogna. That is not me saying I have no sympathy for the people who are affected by Vic's actions, whether they be true or not. I do have sympathy for both parties, whoever is in the wrong. But I still think that it is a fucking waste of time because none of it has been proven to be true. There have been so many rumors of, Vic did blah 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 is true, or so and so who accused Vic of doing blah 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 is actually true and Vic is lying. Oh no, the other party is lying just to dethrone him. No, Vic's lying to save his face. No, these voice actors are lying because they're obsessed with Vic getting all of the roles, and it's just like, dude, come the fuck on. This is why I hate online drama. It is such a shit show. It's like watching two cancer cells fighting in a body. Regardless of which cancer cells wins, you still have cancer. It's just, it's ridiculous how, and I get it if you're like a huge fan of Vic Mignogna, and like, I know there are a lot of fans of Vic Mignogna because he is, again, a long time standing voice actor who has done many, many notable roles. That are from franchises that are very, very popular. I totally get that you want to back up your favorite voice actor, or you want to back up your favorite voice actors who were affected by Vic's so-called actions. But still, I was looking at the whole thing and I'm like, what a waste of time. What a waste of space. There are so many, and so many people on every single video's comments, every day on Twitter, were commenting and tweeting at me saying, Joey, can you say something about the Vic Mignogna thing? Why aren't you covering it in a video? Because it's a fucking waste of time. I don't care. It's such a waste of time. Drama is a waste of goddamn time. I have so many other things that I could be talking about, and I just want to leave everybody who's involved in this the fuck alone so that they can handle it on their own. Me making a video on the situation, me tweeting about the situation. In fact, me talking about this in this podcast right now is a goddamn waste of time. The only reason why I'm covering it in this podcast is so that for those people who are just so obsessed with this matter can finally hear something about it from my mouth. And let me just tell you, you're not fucking hearing anything from my mouth, because Bottom line is, I don't give a shit. If Vic wants to take everybody to court, so be it. Let him take him to court. If people actually got affected by it, then, well, I'm sorry, but it's got nothing to do with me. I don't care, dude. I'm not affected in this. It's got nothing to do with me, so why do I have to say anything about it? I know that may seem cold and harsh to some people, and, you know, I know this may seem like I'm this guy who doesn't care about, you know, a voice actor getting slandered or people who, you know, getting affected by sexual allegations or whatever, and that's not the case. I'm not saying that. Because I do have sympathy if it actually is true. But currently, there are so many rumors and theories being thrown around from both parties that I don't know what's true anymore. So, I'm gonna wait until we actually figure out what's going on. I'm not gonna be one of those people who make a video every time Vic makes a fucking statement on this. So, that's all you're gonna hear from me about this matter. I'm just gonna wait until we see an end to this drama, and then depending on the severity of it, then I may talk about it. And that's a big, big may. But until then, just let them fucking sort it out. Just let both parties sort their shit out, wait until this drama is over, and then we can fucking move on. Alright? Alright. I got a little bit heated there, I'm sorry. Let's, you know what? Let's do some Q&A. Let's do some questions. So, Q&A time. I'm grabbing these questions from the official Anime Man Discord, which every one of you guys listening to this should be a part of. But if you are a King Taku or a God Taku, which are the top 2 tiers, you get first dibs on asking me questions in your special God Taku and King Taku rooms. So I'll be grabbing the questions from there first, and then I will move on to the Patreon and Twitch chat room for you patrons. Okay, here we go. So first question is from Ulysses, who says, do you plan on living in Japan for the rest of your life? I don't know. I don't know is the simple answer. So it will be May of this year that will mark 3 years in Japan for me. I moved here in 2016, May 2016, after I graduated from university in Australia. And I don't know if I'm going to spend the rest of my life here. It really depends on where my work will take me. Because I think it will really depend on where my career takes me. But I would like to live in Japan for the rest of my life, but you never know. While, you know, traveling the world and learning and experiencing all sorts of new things, I may fall in love with another country. Or I may end up back in Australia. Who knows? But right now, I'm very happy in Japan. Aki's very happy here, living with me. And we've had no problems so far. It's been good. It's been fun. I'm definitely having a lot more of a fun and fulfilling experience here, I would say, than I ever did back in Australia. But that might just be because, you know, I have just, you know, based on the work experience from everything, and, you know, the people that I know here being related to my YouTube channel, and just, you know, me, I guess, you know, traveling more within Japan and experiencing more and more of Japan that I previously had never experienced or known about, you know, prior to moving here. So, short answer, Ulysses, is I don't know. Next question is also from Ulysses, who says, what is your favorite video game series? That's really hard. I've played a lot of different games. I was a big Nintendo boy growing up, big Square Enix fan, or Squaresoft fan growing up. So, you know, obviously the Mario series I love, Zelda series, Kirby series, Pokemon series, and then with Squaresoft, I loved my Final Fantasy series. I loved my Fire Emblem series. Just, yeah, there's a lot, but I'd say my all-time favorite would have to be Pokemon. As normie as that sounds, Pokemon has always been there for me since the very, very first gen. And, you know, like, it's crazy because, like, only yesterday, Nintendo announced Generation 8 Pokemon Sword and Shield, which we'll get to later in the podcast. It's just crazy to think that I've been alive for all 8 generations of Pokemon and seen it develop so much. And you better fucking believe that I'm getting Sword and Shield. Like, my god, I was so fucking excited for that Nintendo Direct. But yeah, Animal Crossing is another one that I fucking loved from the very, very beginning. And I'm not talking about the GameCube Animal Crossing that the rest of the world got. No, I'm talking about the OG Animal Crossing on N64 that never made it out of Japan. That was the first Animal Crossing I played. So, yeah. I'd say probably Pokemon would be my all-time favorite video game series, definitely. So yeah, there you go. Next question is from Frags, who says, "Yo, going to be visiting Tokyo soon. What are some of your favorite anime stores in Akihabara?" My favorite anime stores in Akihabara. Well, the cool thing about Akihabara is that there are so many anime stores that are just so different, and a lot of them, in fact, are actually hidden away. They're either underground or on the side streets of Akihabara. But my favorite stores in Akihabara, well, I mean, there are a number of like chains in Akihabara that, well, there are a number of stores in Akihabara that are part of a chain that also exist outside of Akihabara. So like things like Mandarake would be one of my favorites because you can literally get anything there. You can get manga, you can get doujins, you can get anime figurines, you can get Gundams, you can get Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you can get idol stuff, you can get voice actor CD clips, you can get anime music CDs, you can get collectible anime merch and animation frames. Just like literally everything. You can get merch there, like t-shirts, anime t-shirts and stuff like that. You can literally get anything there. But Akihabara does have a Mandarake that's pretty big. It's like 8 stories tall. It's very hard to miss because it's this giant black building. That one I always hit up every time I'm in Akihabara. But surprisingly, I don't actually go to Akihabara as often as people think. I know, it's weird. And the only reason is because Akihabara is a little bit far away from my house. And obviously I'm not going to say where I live, but just know that it's a little bit of a pain in the ass for me to get to Akihabara. So I actually much prefer going to places like Shibuya and Ikebukuro for my anime stuff. Because Ikebukuro has one of the biggest book-offs, which is a secondhand bookstore where I buy all of my manga that you see in the backgrounds of my videos. All of those I get from Book Off. And Shibuya has a Mandarake as well that is hidden 2 stories below underground. Which is, I would say, just as big as the one in Akihabara in terms of how much stuff they have there. But if we're sticking just to Akihabara, I mean, stores like Toranoana and Melon Books are a great place to buy doujins, like hentai and stuff like that. They also have hentai games, but they also have regular manga, anime merch, stuff like that. And if you want to check out more anime merchy type stuff, like, key rings, light novels, all that kind of stuff, then Animate is a really good one as well. There is a big Animate in Akihabara as well. What else is there? I don't know. There's also this, it's not anime related, because shockingly not everything in Akihabara is anime related. But there's also a big electronics store. Akiba Zone is a store that I always hit up. Again, it's a big building, 5 stories, just off the side street, or off the main road in a side street. But Akiba Zone has figurines for 3 stories, and then the very top floor, the 5th floor, is a cosplay store. And the one and only time I've ever cosplayed in my life, which was Gintoki from Gintama at AX in 2017, I believe? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was AX 2017 I cosplayed as Gintoki from Gintama. I bought the Gintama costume set from there, from Akiba Zone. So that place is really cool, and I found a lot of like really good. And on the 4th floor of Akiba Zone, 3rd and 4th floor actually, 3rd and 4th floor has secondhand figurines. But when I say secondhand figurines, like the word secondhand in Japan is very misleading because, you know, when you first think secondhand, you think, oh, people have used it, so it's like damaged, it's broken, it's basically just garbage. But the word secondhand in Japan is so misleading because you'll look at stuff that is secondhand in Japan and you won't believe it's secondhand. Like, it's like that good quality, right? Like in Japan, like you could buy a brand new figurine and resell it without doing anything to it, not even opening the box, not even touching the box, and that would still be counted as secondhand because it's fallen into the hands of some other consumer, right? Which is very different to the word secondhand that you hear in, say, America or like any other Western country. So Akiba Zone is really good because you can get a lot of really good quality secondhand figurines, and there are a lot of figurines that I found in both Akiba Zone and Mandarake, which I've never seen in any other figurine store in Tokyo or Japan ever. So yeah, definitely hit those up because they're probably my favorite. They're probably my favorite stores in Akihabara. Other than that, Akihabara has a lot of really good ramen stores. Again, all on the side streets. You can try out the 1,000 yen vending machines. There's a giant Don Quixote there, which is like a store where you can literally buy anything that you can think of. It's all in Akihabara. And there's a lot of really cool arcades. There's actually one arcade that I like going to, which I've forgotten the name of, where on the 3rd floor, I believe, there is this room that is full of retro arcade machines, like, you know, Tetris, Puyo Puyo, you know, the original Metal Slugs and everything, that you can play for 50 yen, which is like 50 cents. So that place is really cool. I recommend there. But other than that, like, Akihabara is just really cool to just look around and see people just fucking having fun. You know, go into the side streets and go buy some weird electronics is also a really fun thing to do. You go around to the back instead of coming out of the Electric City gate, you can go to the other side, the Showa gate, and, you know, go to the electronics store there. There are a few places to eat around there as well. Yeah, it's really cool. Obviously, you know, there's stuff like the Gundam Cafe, the AKB Cafe, which is really cool. The sushi restaurant, which is next to the Gundam Cafe, is also pretty neat. If you just want a quick bite to eat, it's a really small, like, sushi train place, but I've eaten there a few times because it's really good. And yeah, the great thing is that you can walk from Akihabara all the way up the main road to Ueno, and, you know, after a long day of shopping for hentai or whatever you do in Akihabara, you can just walk. Instead of catching the train, you can just walk on the main road all the way up to Ueno and visit, you know, Amioko and all sorts of really cool izakayas and karaoke places. So yeah, it's great. I love going there and spending really fun times with my friends and my girlfriend. It's good shit. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for your question, Frags. Up next is from Elder Lich 1's Ulgon. The fucking main character from Overlord. Hello. Who is a god taku, I believe. So thank you. Who says, would you be up to playing a BL visual novel? Camp Buddy, etc. I know you censor, so why not? It's the same concept. Maybe? I would actually like to, and look, you're going to hear this a lot from me, but I would like to go back and be a little bit more frequent on Twitch. The thing that's stopping me from being a little bit frequent on Twitch is because I've been going on a lot of trips inside the country, because this year my plan is to go and visit more of Japan. So the last couple of years, me and my girlfriend were visiting a lot of the world. You know, I think last year I went on like over 50 individual plane rides in a year, which was like way too much. So this year I want to focus on actually traveling within Japan and visiting more of the country that I live in, because I realized that I haven't visited as many places in Japan as I would have hoped for, or as I would have liked. So yeah, so that's I would definitely like to do that. And because of that, I haven't been on Twitch as much as I would have liked. And I really do enjoy Twitch. And more so, I would like to go back to streaming visual novels because they're easy, people really enjoy it, and they're fun. And I've been trying for the longest time to look for a visual novel for me to stream that fits into the BL genre. Because that would be hilarious and cool. And I haven't actually properly sat down and played a BL visual novel. Which might be an interesting experience that I can share with you guys on Twitch. Again, though, the only problem is that I just have to find a BL visual novel that is safe for Twitch, essentially. So, if, the BL visual novel you're suggesting here, which is called Camp Buddy, I believe, never heard of it, is safe for Twitch, then I might just do it on Twitch. But you've said here that I know you censor, so why not? It's the same concept. So I'm guessing that this would be uncensored, unless I can find a censored version. But then again, I won't know if it's safe for Twitch because Twitch's censorship laws have gotten a little bit more strict as of recent times, which makes a lot of sense. But I do have friends who work at Twitch, so I can just ask them. Twitch staff can come to the day to give me a slap on the wrist if I'm being too naughty. But yeah, no, I definitely like to play. I would be up to playing a BL visual novel. I just need to find one that is safe for Twitch. And I need to find time to actually stream on Twitch. And then everything would be all good. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for your question. Next one here is from Yondere, who says, what's your favorite part about living with Aki? You must be so happy. When I was younger, I dated a guy from Shenzhen, which I believe is from is Chinese province, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it was so hard being apart every time I went home. My favorite part about living together with Aki is that every day is a challenge. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a positive way. It's like a new experience, I get to, obviously, I'm very happy. We're both very happy because we get to see each other every day. We get to sleep in the same bed every day. We get to see each other every morning. And you won't believe how refreshing that is after you've been in long distance for 2.5 years. We were in long distance for 2.5 years. It's crazy. And it's great. I love it. It's a nice new step in our life. It's a nice challenge, I'd say, living with your partner as opposed to being in a long distance. So I'm having fun with it first and foremost. But it's also a nice challenge to try and, figure out a nice balance between work and life. I don't want to be... Because back when I was living at home, I definitely focused more on work. Because, as much as I had friends here who I could hang out with, it's not quite the same as living with your partner, right? You gotta give some time to your partner. So it's interesting. To have tried to figure out that, difference, I guess, of work style and lifestyle and everything. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully it goes well. That's all I'm hoping at this point, really, is that, it's been only not even 2 months yet. But all I hope for is that everything goes well. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just drinking coffee right now because I've been talking a lot. Alright, but let's move on. Next question is from Otaku Mafia, who says, hey Joey, what is the name of the podcast and where can I listen to it? Or will it be posted on the Patreon? Well, Otaku Mafia, I hope you're listening to this and I have answered your question doing this. It's called Hokago Tea Time. Not Hokago Tea Time. God damn it. That's what I wanted to avoid saying. Hokago Talk Time. Talk Time. And yes, it is posted on Patreon. There you go. Let's see here. Okay. Next question is from Shu Rim, who is also Gotaku, who says, hey Joey, looking forward to the podcast. My question will be, I plan to visit Japan sometime soon, and I've been saving up to do so. What would you say would be the key places to go for historical purposes? I'm assuming Akihabara is the place for anime products. Well, if you were listening to this podcast so far, Shirin, then yes, you would know that Akihabara is definitely the place for anime products. Well, not just anime products, like electronic products as well. You can find a lot of in Akihabara. Just, general anime weirdness would definitely be a nice place for to go for Akihabara. But historical places, well, that's where it starts to get a little bit difficult. I would say that if you really want to look for key places to go for historical purposes, then I would steer clear from Tokyo. Now, that's not to say that Tokyo doesn't have historical places. I mean, it obviously does, very much so. But I think the best place to look at historical places in Japan would be places that are away from the big cities. I'd say the most historical place to go to in Japan is Kyoto. As much as everybody will say that you need to go to Kyoto, I do genuinely think that if you are a fan of Japan, then you need to go to Kyoto, excuse me. You need to go to Kyoto, especially if you want to look at the more historical places. A lot of very, very famous temples in Kyoto. A lot of countryside places that are just brimming with Japanese natural beauty and, mountains and plains and so many deep historical places. But the great thing about Japan is that even outside of all of the main prefectures like Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, is that every prefecture has its own historical places. For example, recently speaking, early this month rather, it was only a few weeks ago actually, now that I think about it, Aki and I went to Aichi, which is like halfway between Tokyo and Kyoto. So it's about 2 hours bullet train from Tokyo, out towards the west. And it's situated kind of in the center of Japan. The Aichi prefecture, we went, and I've never properly explored Aichi. I think the fourth biggest city in Japan, Nagoya, is in the Aichi prefecture. And I've passed by Aichi a few times, just because it is such a big city in Japan. But I've never properly explored the Aichi prefecture. And one of the places we went to was Inuyama Castle, which is one of 4, I believe, castles that are still standing in its original structure. And it's one of 4 castles, I believe, that is considered a national treasure in Japan. And that place had so much history behind it. It was crazy. I learned so much very cool historical places there. So, bottom line is, honestly, I think it really depends, because Japanese history is so rich and so long. I mean, our history is very, very rich and thick. Like a good anime girl. Rich and thick. But I would say, I guess, if you want to look at specific places of specific historical purpose, then I'd say, figure out okay, what do I want to see? Do I want to see historical castles? Do I want to see historical land? Do I want to see historical countryside places? Do I want to see historical do I want to see how far back in history do I want to see? Do I want to go to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which historical purpose starts from World War II, or do I want to go to Inuyama Castle, whose history starts back from 600 years ago? So, the great thing about Japanese history is that there is so much that was going on, and a lot of it is still standing to this day. A lot of it is still being preserved because Japan is all about, respecting the history and maintaining it for the new generations to learn from and to, I guess, experience for themselves. So, just know that ton of historical places in all over Japan, also in, the main cities as well, you'll definitely find them. But if you want to have, a really, really nice experience that you probably can't really get from anywhere else, then go out into the countryside and look for historical places around there. Yeah, definitely. But I guess that's going to do it for questions so far. Now, one topic that I want to cover, or I guess two topics I want to cover, one of which is a topic that I touched upon very early on in this podcast, is the new fucking Pokemon game. God damn, I am fucking excited for that shit. Like, Pokemon Sword and Shield. So, Gen 8, Nintendo just announced it in their Nintendo Direct last night. We got a glimpse of the new Pokemon, the new starters, all of which are super cute. It's going to be a very, very tough choice to choose which one. I feel like I'm going to have to do multiple playthroughs of the game. And, you know, I'm going to say this now, but don't quote me on this. I'm going to try and stream it when it comes out. But the thing is, the game comes out late 2019, so, you know, things may have changed by then. Who knows? Yeah, the new Pokemon game. Fucking hyped for that, dude. And, you know, it's crazy to see. I saw on Twitter this morning of, like, obviously Pokemon was trending all over Twitter, you know, all over international Twitter. So much fan art has already been created from, you know, stuff about, you know, the starters, you know, in their shenanigans and hijinks, and also the fact that, you know, the whole, the Galar region, I think it's called, is the new region in Gen 8, is clearly modelled after Britain, or after the UK. And, you know, all the memes about, like, I think one of the memes I saw, which I thought was really funny, was somebody said, "Oh, if the Galar region is modelled after Britain, then I guess we'll need a visa to enter it after it Brexits." And then the reply to that was like Galarexit region, which is stupid, but I thought it was kind of funny that there's like a whole meme behind it. But yeah, it's like the game looks super chill. The game looks super cool. One thing though that I'm just hoping, well, I guess two things that I'm hoping for. One thing though, first and foremost, that I'm hoping for is that I really hope that Nintendo doesn't do any more Nintendo Directs or announcements on the game. Because I felt that, I feel that, you know, it's going to be pretty easy for them to do Nintendo Directs, you know, on and off up until the release of the game, that is going to give more and more hints as to what the game is going to be about. But I would actually prefer it if they didn't do that. I would actually much prefer it if, they just basically just make this the only announcement, and then maybe do like another announcement to say like the actual date that the game is going to be released, but not actually give us any like glimpses into new Pokemon of the 8th generation, or, you know, any of the gym leaders, or any kind of clues like that. I would much prefer it if they just left everything a mystery, you know, no more introductions of any other new Pokemon other than the starters, and just let players play the game and figure out and find the new Pokemon for themselves. Because I think, you know, because the gameplay of the 8th gen is probably not going to be too different from the past 7 generations of Pokemon. It's going to be basically the same formula. You know, the best way, I guess, to surprise and keep old-time players like myself intrigued in Gen 8 is to leave as much mystery around the new Pokemon in the 8th generation as much as they can. So that when we play the game, you know, we'll go through the first route, whatever it is, and, you know, get a first look at the Rattata and Pidgey equivalent of Gen 8 and be like, oh wow, this is what they look like. I had no idea. You know, give us no expectations so that no matter what pops out, we'll be equally surprised. Is, I guess, one thing that I would like from the new generation. And the second thing is, and this is like a personal gripe that I had with Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. I didn't stream any of it, which I'm like really sad I didn't, because I thought it would be really fun to. But I just had a lot of fun playing. I got Let's Go Eevee, and I just had a lot of fun just playing Let's Go Eevee on my own. and kind of experiencing it on my own. But then I quickly realized that Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee is not part of the mainline Pokemon games. It is not technically Gen 8. It was just kind of a spin-off. And because of that, they changed up a few things in that game, which some of it I was pretty happy with, some of it I wasn't really happy with. The one change that I was really happy with on Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu is the fact that they got rid of random encounters, which made collecting and, finding specific Pokemon much easier, and less about chance and more about just waiting, essentially, or, just getting lucky. Which, was really exciting when you would just fucking see a shiny whatever, or a Pokemon that you've been looking for the longest time, just fucking walking around roaming the earth. A lot of people would disagree with that, saying, the whole random encounter thing was fun as well. And I did like random encounters. But when it came to, shiny hunting and stuff like that, it just got a little bit tedious, to be honest. I did much prefer the way that you could see all of the Pokemon just on the map, rather than having to wait for the thing to activate and then finally see what the Pokemon is. But looking at the Nintendo Direct, it seems they went back to their old roots. For a brief second, they showed a little part where the main character is walking into a bush and then the whole random encounter thing happens. So it looks like they brought back random encounters, which is cool. I'm totally okay with that. But I hope the one thing that they also revert back to, which they changed in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, which I thought was really fucking tedious, and I did not like it at all. It's the one part of the game that I really, really did not like, is the fact that when you encounter a wild Pokemon in Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, and you already have the Pokemon, you don't have to catch it, you just want to get the experience from it. In Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, you have to catch the Pokemon in order to get the experience. There is no option of fighting it. Which is really tedious, because when it gets to the higher levels, when it gets to late game, when you want to, level up Pokemon for certain things, it is so much easier and quicker to just feint the Pokemon, to fight the Pokemon essentially, and get experience from that, than to throw 20 Pokeballs at it and keep collecting Pokemon that you don't really want. Now, I get that, by catching Pokemon, you get the berries. You can exchange it for berries, which in turn, helps level up your Pokemon, whatever. I get that. But, it's not quite as satisfying and as fast-paced as, say, just fucking killing the Pokemon, right? And I wouldn't have a problem with it if they... Okay, so one cool thing, though, about this thing, about Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee that I did enjoy, was the legendaries. Now, if you play the game, you would know that whenever you encounter a legendary Pokemon or an event-based Pokemon, like, say, Snorlax, is that before you catch it, you have to feint it. You have to actually kill it, right? And then once you've drained all of its HP, then you have a chance to catch it in Pokemon Go style, right? I really like that, and I wish they did that for every single Pokemon that you encounter. Because, think about it like this, right? If you wanted to catch the Pokemon, all you have to do is just get rid of all its HP, and then you have a chance to catch it. But, if you don't want to catch the Pokemon, then you can just drain all of its HP, and then say no to catching it, and you still get experience from it. So, it gives people the satisfaction of catching said Pokemon, because you drain all of its HP first, and then you throw the ball, but it will also solve the problem of, from people like me, who don't necessarily want to catch the Pokemon, who just want to feint it, and then gain experience from it. So, I really liked how they did it with the legendaries. I just wish they did that with every single Pokemon you encountered in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. I don't know if anyone listening to this would necessarily agree on that aspect, but that's what I had hoped from the game, and that's the one thing that really kind of made me stop playing Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, basically right after I beat the game. I beat the game, I beat the Elite Four and everything, but that was one thing that just stopped me from playing it any further, essentially, was just that aspect. So hopefully, Gen 8, Pokemon Sword and Shield, will just go back to the standard routine of finding wild Pokemon and leveling up, where it's just random encounters in the grass, Pokemon appears, and you can catch it if you want, or you can kill it if you want. Either way, you'll get experience from it. So I really hope that is back. Because for me, honestly, that's going to make or break Gen 8. That's going to make or break this new Pokemon game. Because other than that, the game looks fucking nice. And the fact that it's on the Switch means I can take it everywhere. And that's the best part about it. And speaking of taking it everywhere and new Switch games, Animal Crossing is another one that I'm also equally looking forward to. That's the second game that I wanted to talk about, or the second topic I want to talk about to end this particular episode. It's the new Animal Crossing game. Now, we haven't heard a lot about the new Animal Crossing game. All we know is that it's going to be released sometime this year, because they announced a new game when they announced that Isabelle, a character from Animal Crossing, was going to be included in Super Smash Bros., which is also a game that I fucking love and still play just casually every now and then with friends. But it was really, I thought it was so cool for Nintendo to just be like, oh look, here's a trailer for Animal Crossing, which you guys wanted to see. JK, we're just announcing Isabelle is going to be in Smash Bros. JK again, there is a new Animal Crossing game. It was like a double, like, got 'em. It was like, got 'em, you thought it was Animal Crossing, it's Smash Brothers. You just thought it was Smash Brothers, got 'em, it's actually Animal Crossing. So, whoever at Nintendo decided to do all of that, I was like, you smart boy or girl, like, you almost got us. But that announcement was really exciting for everybody, because we were like, fuck yeah, we're finally getting an Animal Crossing. Because before I had bought the Switch, or well, I guess in my case, Aki bought me a Switch for Christmas, but before I even knew that was happening, I was thinking about buying a Switch, after I saw Mario Odyssey. I was like, damn, that looks like a fucking fun game. I ended up playing Mario Odyssey all on Steam, or not on Steam, on Twitch rather, live, and that was really, really fun. But the two games actually that I always said from the beginning of the Switch days, that I've always said to people, I'm not going to buy a Switch until they announce two games. An Animal Crossing game and a Fire Emblem game. Both games, by the way, have been announced. There is a new Animal Crossing game, as I mentioned, and they've announced the new Fire Emblem game as well on the Switch. So you better believe I'm getting both of those games. And now that they've announced Pokemon as well, so many fucking games to play. Like, Jesus Christ. So many fucking games to play. I mean, I've been having a lot of fun this month of just, kind of sitting back and this is another reason why I haven't been streaming on Twitch as much as I would have liked. It's just, I've been spending a lot of time just going back and finishing a lot of games that were on hold for a very long time. I only just finished the Fist of the North Star game on PS4. I thought about streaming that game, but then, I don't know. I have such a really, really deep connection to Fist of the North Star because it's one of my favorite manga series of all time, growing up. So I kind of wanted to just play the game and experience it for myself. And I finished it recently, and that was a ton of fun. If anything, that game actually inspired me to buy all of the manga again, because I might be making a video on Fist of the North Star soon, because not enough people know about the greatness of Fist of the North Star and kind of just brush it off as just a Omae wa mo Shinderu meme. But trust me, Fist of the North Star is so much more than that meme. I mean, I don't get why that became a meme, considering the fact that in the manga, Kenshiro only ever says that one time. But, that's just a little factoid to throw in there. But Fist of the North Star, the game, was fucking awesome. Such a fun game. And, knowing that it was made by the same people who made the Yakuza games, which is a game that I've been wanting to play on Steam, that only just, that only just convinced me to play Yakuza one of these days on Twitch. So, yeah. But, yeah, so they announced the Animal Crossing game, they've announced a Fire Emblem game, and just yesterday they announced a Pokemon game. So already 3 games that I'm keen to get my hands on and play. Hopefully all 3 of those games I will be streaming on Twitch for some amount of time. Depending. Maybe not Animal Crossing, because it might be a bit boring for people watching me stream Animal Crossing. But Fire Emblem and the Pokemon game, for fucking sure, I'm going to be streaming those games. And hopefully Yakuza as well. But I'm just waiting for those 3 games to come out so I can stream it. Yeah. But right now, I've been actually replaying Final Fantasy VI. Because that's one of my favorite, as I mentioned earlier from the Q&A, Final Fantasy is one of my favorite gaming series growing up. And Final Fantasy VI, in my humble opinion, is the best Final Fantasy in the franchise. For all of you Final Fantasy VII fans, you can eat a dick. I don't think Final Fantasy VII isn't even in my top 3, bro. My top 3 is 6, 10, and 4. So, yeah, I think 7's fucking overrated. 10 is great. 10 is a very close second to 6, but just something about 6 is just so unbeatable. It screams. It has the same vibe and feeling that Chrono Trigger gave me back in the day, which is another game that I would say is a equal contender for greatest game of all time with Final Fantasy VI, or greatest RPG of all time, should I say, with Final Fantasy VI. So I've been playing that on my own again recently, just because I've been really enjoying just sitting down and playing games. But yeah, so pretty keen on all the Animal Crossings. I mean, we've had no information on the new Animal Crossing game, so who knows what's going to be involved in it. But I mean, it's Animal Crossing. It shouldn't be that much more extravagant. You know, the game is so simple and so relaxing. Like, we don't need any like grandiose additions to the game or anything like that. And I doubt Nintendo are gonna like overload that game with too much shit to do. But I just, I'm just looking forward to it, to just find a game that I can just sit down and relax playing. It's gonna be great. But yeah, guys, that's gonna do it, I think, for this episode of Hokago Talk Time. Thank you once again for joining in. I'm going to try and aim to make these Hokago Talk Time episodes around an hour long. I mean, we're just at that mark now, so I think that's a perfect time to end it. And considering, I guess, how often I'm going to be uploading these, I don't know yet. I'm going to try and do it at least twice a month, I'd say. Maybe 3 times a month would be cool. Weekly would just be a little bit too much, I think. Yeah, I don't think my throat can handle it. Considering I've been talking for an hour straight, and my throat is starting to kill me, as you can probably hear from the amount of ums I'm doing. But yeah, guys, thank you once again for listening in. If you have any suggestions for the next episode, leave them in the comments below, or on Patreon. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask me for the next episode, then leave them. If you're a King Taku and God Taku, leave them in the King Taku God Taku questions and answers chat on my Discord. If you are a regular patron, then leave them in the Twitch and Patreon room that is special to you guys, in there with the hashtag Hokago Talk Time. Or let's do hashtag HTT. It's much easier to type in. So just go into the Patreon Discord room on my Discord if you're a patron listening to this. Hashtag HTT, give me an answer. Or give me a question, rather, and I will give you an answer to whatever it is you ask. But yeah, guys, thank you very much again for talking, or listening to me talk. You weren't talking, I was. And yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful rest of February. I guess by the time you're listening to this, it may be the last day of February, might be the first day of March. But regardless, next episode, I will see you sometime in early March. Alright, guys, have a good one.